Yugioh, and today I'll be doing a Yu-Gi-Oh! Archetypal Facelift video, and I know I haven't done one of these in a long time, but I'm also planning on doing more of these videos as well as more of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Yu-Gi-Oh! Tier analysis videos. But anyway, since this is going to be the first one I'm doing in a long time, I feel like making this a double special. Anyways, first off, we're doing Dinowrestlers, so let's get started. First off, we have Dinowrestler Karate. I don't know how to pronounce that, nor will I even attempt to. And it's a level 4 Earth Dinosaur. Okay, wow, I'm already messing up. It's a level 4 Earth Dinosaur Effect Tuner monster with 1500 attack and 0 defense, as standard with all the Dinowrestler cards, as well as Goki cards. If your opponent activates a spell, trap, or monster effect, you can special summon this card from your hand. Hard once per turn. Second effect. Face-up Dinowrestler monsters you control cannot be destroyed or sent to the graveyard by your opponent's card effects. I should have put other face-up Dinowrestlers, but it's fine either way. Plus, as a tuner, it's a level 4, makes summoning your Spino Dionea really... Oh my gosh, I'm mixing up my dinosaur-themed cards. Spino Dionea is the... But yeah, it's a Predaplant card. You could basically summon your Spino Savage. I think that's what the synchro is called. Don't quote me on that. Next, we have their spell called Dino Wrestling Instincts. And it's a quick play spell, and its effect reads target one face-up monster your opponent controls and one Dino Wrestler monster you control. Until the end of this turn, half the opponent's monster's attack, and if you do, add the half to that monster's original attack to your monster. Second effect, if a face-up Dinowrestler monsters you control would leave the field due to an opponent's card effects, you can banish this card from your graveyard instead, and that's a hard once per turn as well. And for the last card, we have Dino Wrestling Rematch. And it's a continuous trap, and its effect reads, you can shuffle one Dino Wrestling card in your graveyard or one of your banished Dino Wrestling cards into the deck. Then add one Dino Wrestling card or one Dino Wrestler monster from your deck to your hand except Dino Wrestling Entrance. And that's a hard once per turn. Second effect, you can banish this card from your field or graveyard, fusion summon one Dinowrestler fusion monster from your extra deck using material in your hand, field, or by banishing the material from your graveyard, and that's a hard once per turn. Basically allowing you to go into your fusion monster a lot easier. The fusion monster is really good, it takes a lot of setup just to go into. That's just the problem. And you may be wondering, for an archetype as garbage as Dinowrestler, you only gave them 3 cards? Well, this card helps swarm the field a lot easier in Dinowrestlers, which is fine and nice. This card basically allows you to beat over most monsters your opponent controls, because the weird and sad thing about this deck is it wants to force your opponent into not force your opponent. It wants to force you into battling or dealing with your opponent with a single monster or single 2 monsters instead of swarming the field and just OTKing and stuff. Which is the strange thing about this deck, because this deck is supposed to be battle oriented, but it lacks protection from card effects. Plus, again, like I mentioned, the playstyle suggests that you should only control 1 monster or 2 monsters at most, which is really, really stupid and annoying. But whatever. And the third card basically just allows you to summon, your strongest Dino Wrestling monster with ease. So that's also pretty nice. Next, we're going to be doing Jurracs. And first off for Jurracs, oh yeah, I know I did a Jurrac one before, but I'm doing it again. I also plan on doing this again for Hazy Flames, FYI. First off, we have Jurrac. I'm not going to pronounce that, and it's a level 5 fire dinosaur effect monster with 2100 attack and 1800 defense. And its effect reads, if you control no monsters, you can special summon this card from your hand. If a Jurrac monster you control declares an attack, your opponent cannot activate cards or effects until the end of the damage step. This is just there to get field presence, plus is level 5, and you just normal summon your tuner. You can go into your Jurrac synchro monsters with ease, or any synchro monsters you just happen to be playing in the extra deck. Next we have Jurrac Skeleto, and it's a level 4 fire dinosaur tuner effect monster with 1000 attack and 200 defense. Obviously, rekindling target. And its effect reads, if this card is normal or special summoned, you can send one Jurrac monster from your deck to the graveyard, and if you do, this card's level becomes that of the sent monster, hard once per turn. Second effect, if a face-up Jurrac monsters you control be destroyed by your opponent's card, you can special summon this card. Wait, I said would be. It's if it. Wow, okay, reading. If a face-up Jurrac monsters you control is destroyed by your opponent's card, you can special summon this card from your hand. I did not feel like making that a hard once per turn because it is completely reliant on your opponent, so it's not like you can loop and abuse it, at least not to my knowledge. But basically this card is basically a tuner that can just adjust its own level, so you can go into an assortment of different synchro monsters. Next and lastly, for the Jurrac monsters, we have Jurrac Plateo, and it's a level 2 fire dinosaur effect monster that's also a tuner with 400 attack and 200 defense. If you control a face-up Jurrac monster, you can special summon this card from your hand, hard once per turn. Second effect, you can banish this card and one Jurrac monster from your graveyard, special summon one Jurrac monster from your graveyard. Is a hard once per turn. Basically, it's a Monster Reborn, but with a lot of stipulations. And by a lot of stipulations, I mean just one really important stipulation. Actually, would you call it a stipulation? It's more like a requirement, but whatever. Next, for the spell, we have Jurrac Domain, and it's a field spell, and its effect reads, if this card is activated, you can special summon one Jurrac monster from your hand or graveyard, hard once per turn. Your opponent cannot target. Second effect reads, your opponent cannot target face-up Jurrac monsters you control with monster effects. Third effect reads, all Jurrac monsters you control gain 500 attack and 500 defense. Pretty standard for a field spell. Plus, since Jurrac do like battling, they're just like Dinowrestlers, they're also a battle-heavy archetype. I feel like this would actually help you get off the effects that activate when your Jurracs run over a monster by battle. And next, for the trap, there's only one spell, one trap. But anyways, for the trap, we have Jurrac Wrath. I should have named this thing Jurrac Hostility, but whatever. And it's a counter trap, and its effect reads, when a spell / trap or effect is activated while you control a face-up Jurrac monster, negate the activation, and if you do, destroy that card. Second effect reads, if a face-up Jurrac monster you control be destroyed by a card effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard instead. Because, again, this deck is incredibly battle-oriented, I didn't want to make just a Balinx for this deck just to prevent the monsters from being destroyed by battle and card effect. I just wanted to include the protection from card effect because, again, this deck is very battle oriented. Also, I feel like almost every archetype, I know DP. Okay. I know DP Yugioh said that every deck should have an Infinity Barrier. I think he's capping for that one, but I feel like every deck should at least have some form of Dark Bribe that's, doesn't give your opponent a card. Anyways, next we have the Synchro monsters. And the first one being Jurrac Yugioh, and it's a level 6 fire dinosaur effect synchro monster with 1800 attack. I think I'm losing my voice. And I'll drink water after this, I promise. It has 1800 attack and 2100 defense. And it requires one tuner monster plus one or more non-tuner monsters. If this card is synchro summoned, you can add one Jurrac card from your deck to your hand, and that's a hard once per turn. Second effect, once per turn during either player's turn, you can discard one Jurrac card, negate the effects of a face-up monster your opponent controls, basically being permanent but at the cost of a discard, which is nice. And it wouldn't really be broken or unfair, plus, again, what better way to level out the playing field, especially in a battle-oriented deck, than to negate monster effects, or just negate pesky effects that make the battle phase a chore for you. Next and lastly, we have Jurrac Tritops, and it's a level 8 dinosaur synchro effect monster with 21. Bruh. Lastly, we have Jurrac Tritops, and it's a level 8 fire dinosaur synchro effect monster with 2600 attack and 2000 defense. And its material requires one tuner monster plus one or more non-tuner Jurrac monsters. And its effect reads: this card gains 100 attack for each monster in your graveyard, and for each monster your opponent controls. If this card destroys a monster by battle, you can inflict damage to your opponent equal to the attack of the destroyed monster. This card can inflict piercing damage. Basically, this deck is just to help you close out games a lot faster, especially if you summon this thing and you just happen to have a lot of Jurracs in your graveyard. You could just attack over something, inflict damage, massive damage, especially when you pair it up with the field spell. This thing is already going to have a base attack of 31. Hold up. I mean, already have a base attack of 33. So basically, yeah, you're going to have, and if your opponent has a monster, it's going to be 34. Based. But if you increase this monster's attack even higher, you could basically do I don't know. I feel like. Oh, right, now I remember. Basically, this card just inflicts its attack points to your opponent as damage, just straight up. Since this card is pretty much like Flame Wingman, where if it attacks a monster in attack mode and it beats over it, it's always going to inflict its attack points as damage, essentially. I should have made it so that this card can attack twice, but I feel like that would be too much for an easy to summon level 8 synchro monster. Anyways, tell me what you guys think about my Dinowrestler and my Jurrac support. And it's been me, your boy Blue Guy, and I'm out.